activities marking Democracy Day. President Bola Tinubu signed student loan bill into law. Stakeholders react differently to President Tinubu's Democracy Day broadcast. Nigerians give assessment of the country's democratic journey. PDP denies selecting minority leaders for 10th National Assembly. Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority raises alarm over illegal oil operations in Bonny, River State. On the foreign scene, Ukraine says it has liberated more settlements. I am Kala Dakuru Batabo. Peace is the path to the prosperity of a nation. Let peace reign. Good evening. President Bola Tinubu has inspected the Guard of Honor at the forecourt of the Presidential Villa in Abuja as part of activities to mark the 2023 Democracy Day, marked annually on June 12. Among the dignitaries present include Vice President Kashim Shettima, Secretary to the Government of the Federation George Akume, Chief of Staff to the President Femi Gbajabiamila, running mate to late MKO Abiola Babagana Kingibe, and Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State, among other dignitaries. Earlier, the President promised that his administration will massively invest in the provision of transportation, health facilities, and other amenities for the good of Nigerians. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu signed the student loan bill into law. An aide to the President, Dele Alake, disclosed this to State House correspondents this evening. The bill will enable Nigerian students to access loans at interest-free rates. Moving on, a Port Harcourt-based lawyer, Otonya Makri, says an aspect of President Bola Tinubu's Democracy Day address warning the judiciary is intimidation in disguise. Mr. Makri said this while speaking with correspondent Soibi Oduwari.
He has warned judiciary to be careful the way they issue orders. That warning I take as a veiled threat. It is intimidation. I say so particularly because our cases against him are pending before the election tribunal. And when you begin to warn somebody who is supposed to be independent from the executive, so why should he, in such a beautiful statement on a special day as Democracy Day, a day that independence of all the three arms of government should be respected, why should he go back to be warning the judiciary?
Also speaking, coordinator of a group known as the People's Advocate in River State, Courage in Sirimovu, called on the judiciary, especially the Election Petition Tribunal, to show their independence.
It is the hope of TPA that the democratic grievance mechanism of court adjudication will come handy to save our democracy and restore power to the people's choice. It is the dream of the People's Advocates that the judiciary will rise to the truth and ensure justice for the sovereign peoples of Nigeria. It is also the dream of the People's Advocates that one day we will have a free and fair election. Truly resonates with June 12.
Some residents of Port Harcourt also reacted to President Bola Tinubu's Democracy Day broadcast. They told our correspondent that it is necessary for the president to establish workable plans to ensure the fulfillment of his promises.
It was hasty to remove the subsidy without putting modalities in place to checkmate it. Just the way his word had value then, whatever he's saying now, I don't think it will alleviate the pains. See, we start seeing things on ground. Anybody can say healthcare, infrastructural development, skills and the rest. What are the steps he's taking to do it? Not I will do it. Give us a roadmap. I'm setting this in place.
If you have anything to do, you should better do it now to gain the heart of the masses. Else, nothing for him. Even if he is there, he will be in people's bad book forever, because this is not fair.
But not be to talk, make them do. I be the thing. The broadcast is okay, but not to implement them.
We all are looking for betterment in this country. If he will be able to do all these things, we'll be happy about it. We don't suffer too much.
Now, as Nigerians celebrate Democracy Day today, Professor of Development Sociology at the University of Port Harcourt, Professor Sofiri Joab Peterside, said the assertion that power resides with the people in Nigeria context is still a tall dream. Professor Peterside spoke with correspondent Soibi Oduwari.
Democracy generally is the best form of government, but Nigerian democracy is still a work squabbling and fumbling. The worst democracy is better than a military dictatorship. But in terms of democracy being associated, like a Swiss writer stated, it's a word that grumbles meaninglessly in an empty stomach. As the extent to which democracy in our country have been able to satisfy the yearnings and aspirations of the people is still a problem. We're still quarreling with processes of electing leader in our country up to this moment in time.
The professor is also the director of Claude Aki School of Governance at the University of Port Harcourt, expressed sadness that technology has not solved the challenges in the country's democratic processes. Also, a political analyst with the University of Port Harcourt, Obina Wadim, believes that what is being practiced in Nigeria cannot be referred to as true democracy.
Nigeria is practicing democracy. By practice, it is democracy, but by the impact that democracy affords to the people, we can really call it a democracy, because democracy is all about the people. Democracy is all about proper representation of the interests and the welfare of the people. And when these are lacking in any system of government as we have, then we can really call it democracy.
Mr. Warden blamed the political class for the kind of democracy practiced in the country. Moving on, the publisher and editor-in-chief of Premium Times, Dakpo Olorinyomi, is calling on journalists to remain professional in providing a well-articulated agenda needed for democracy to thrive. Mr. Olorinyomi said this during an online conversation organized by the Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism and Society Twitter Space.
The sanctity of democracy must be retained, kept fighting, mobilizing Nigerians despite the distraction, despite, those who try to bring all the divisive structures that are always available, religion, ethnicity, and all those things. A reasonable section of media kept putting the agenda of democracy on the table. I think that's the point that we really have more about today, that at every point, the agenda will be a bit different. But it's for us to understand what is the agenda of the moment. It's the challenge of the press to keep moving us forward.
The director of News TVC Communications, Stella Dean Jacob, said the National Broadcast Commission and other regulatory agencies pose certain challenges for the media.
Democracy came, and with it a set of challenges where the work of a journalist was not made easier, but it meant if you were on a story, you could be sued because the person who we've elected in government may not like it, or a situation may arise where subtle pressures are employed to get you to stand down the story. Biggest challenge to the work, I think, of journalists, basically, the code, the regulators, and all of those reasons that are advanced by those who feel that the media should not always report it as it is because you fear that if you're saying it the way it is, there is likely to be trouble.
Also, the founder of Kudirat Initiative for Democracy, Afsat Abiola, who is also the daughter of the late MKO Abiola, charged media practitioners in Nigeria to further enhance their roles in deepening democracy.
To think about how we position Nigeria's media and its noble journalists so that they can really fulfill on their mandate, which is to educate the public, to keep our leaders on their toes and to keep the whole country informed. Because where Nigeria is in 2023 is not where it was in 1993. Today we face much more threats, including a climate crisis, and the whole continent is looking to us for leadership. We have an opportunity really to position Nigeria and put Nigeria where it needs to be, where the whole world needs Nigeria to be.
Our correspondent reports that media professionals, civil society actors, public and private sector players, students of communication and political science, as well as all relevant stakeholders were involved in the conversation. The program was moderated by Kulwazobia Info Port Harcourt News Manager Choma Ezenwafo. The theme for the discussion is media and democracy and how the media has fared. The PDP has urged members of the public to disregard speculations that certain persons have been picked for minority leadership positions for the 10th National Assembly. National Publicity Secretary of the party, Degbo Olugunagba, said this in a statement in Abuja on Monday. Mr. Olugunagba said the disclaimer became necessary in light of unfounded rumors. Still ahead, Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority raises alarm over illegal oil operations in Bonny River State. Stay tuned as we take a breather. We'll be right back. Newscast. The Sangama community in Akukutoro local government area says it has dissolved the executive committee of oil and gas led by Ibim Simeon Dokubo. In a statement jointly signed by the Amayanabo of Sangama, His Royal Highness Tamano Bere Urusa and paramount head of the Dabibi Royal Compound High Chief Charles Dokubo, the community scrapped the oil and gas committee because their tenure has long expired. The statement further said it has constituted a Community Development Committee (CDC) that replaced the scrapped Oil and Gas Committee and has also reviewed the structures and dissolved every other standing committee. His Royal Highness Urusa and High Chief Dokubo said the following persons have been inaugurated as caretaker committee executives of the newly created CDC. In the statement, Prince Tuo Banimi Dabiri is to serve as chairman, while Elder Franklin Robinson as secretary. Isobom Miller, Ebitanga Thomas, Ajamina Promise, Abiye Smart, and Ayanate Urusa as members of the committee. The statement said the newly inaugurated CDC members have terms of reference such as to perform every function of the disbanded Oil and Gas Committee, be responsible to liaise with SPDC, its subcontractors, NLNG, government, and any other agencies on matters relating to oil and gas issues in the community, among other duties. The community, however, advised SPDC and IOCs to avoid dealing with the disbanded Oil and Gas Committee led by Ibim Dokubo, adding that anyone who disregards the notice does so at their own danger. A Pan-African organization, Connected Development, has submitted a Freedom of Information request on the Nigerian air scandal to the Federal Ministry of Aviation. In a letter addressed to the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry and signed by the Chief Executive of CODE, Amzad Lawal, the Social Accountability Organization demanded specific details on the utilization of the 85 billion naira allocated for establishing Nigeria Air. The group also demanded a breakdown of how the allocated funds will be utilized. In business, the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority has raised alarm over the illegal petrol lifting operations taking place at the Bonny River Terminal in River State. The agency raised the alarm in a letter written to the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya, to draw his attention. The letter signed by the agency's chief executive, Farouk Ahmed, said the unlawful act is being facilitated with the active connivance of an oil multinational company. In entertainment, Wizkid has unfollowed every celebrity on his Instagram page, with the exception of Naira Marley. The sudden decision by Wizkid has left fans speculating about the possible reasons behind the move. In sports, Al Hilal reportedly has Neymar Jr. as their plan B after their plan to sign Lionel Messi failed. The Saudi Arabian side is willing to offer a similar salary that Cristiano Ronaldo earns at Al Nassr. If Neymar were to agree to the move, he will earn around 200 million euros annually.
And now, we'll bring you news from around the world.
Now on the foreign scene, Ukraine says it has liberated more settlements after President Volodymyr Zelensky acknowledged on Saturday that Kyiv's long-awaited counter-offensive had begun. An army brigade has announced that it took back the village of Novodarivka in the Zaporizhia region on 4th June. Earlier today, officials said the national flag is once again waving over Storov in the Donetsk region. On the news this evening, you heard President Bulletin has inspected the Guard of Honor as part of activities marking Democracy Day. President Bulletin has signed the student loan bill into law. Stakeholders have reacted differently to President Tinubu's Democracy Day broadcast. Nigerians have given their assessment of the country's democratic journey. PDP has denied selecting minority leaders for 10th National Assembly. On the foreign scene, Ukraine says it has liberated more settlements for Russia. The news was edited by Onyekachi Onsu. Cloudy weather in Port Harcourt this evening. Peace is the path to the prosperity of a nation. Let peace reign. I am Kala Dakuru Batiba. Good evening. Conversation will continue after the break. Just stay tuned.